Truth.
What's up, everybody? Thank you for joining us at Candid Truth. We're going to talk about the truth and we're going to get candid with it. If you don't realize that we are living in the last days, then you have not been paying attention. Look at what just happened. Developer-in-Chief Donald Trump envisions new arch near Washington, D.C. Why is this significant? This isn't just some pretty monument that Trump wants to put up because America is 250 years old. That's the story that they're telling you. But this isn't just like, oh, look at that, it's an archway. No, this is significant. This is spiritual. This is prophetic. Check this out. This is what he wants to build. He's holding the model in his hand. Here are the painting renditions of this thing. And there are some interesting decorations on this archway. We're going to look at that stuff. Right here, you see the golden angel on top. It's holding the flame and it's gold. Pay attention to these things, because who was the angel that bared the torch light, the light bearer? Who was the angel that was the light bearer? We're going to look into that. Ezekiel 28:13 tells us a description of Satan, who he used to be before he fell. Thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone was thy covering. The sardius, topaz, and the diamond, the beryl, the onyx, and the jasper, the sapphire, the emerald, and the carbuncle, and gold. The workmanship of thy tabrets and thy pipes was prepared in thee in the day that thou wast created. So Satan was decked out. He had that bling bling, including gold. And it continues. Ezekiel 28:14 says, Thou art the anointed cherub that covereth. What do you think that means? The cherub that covereth. And I have set thee so, thou wast upon the holy mount of God, thou hast walked up and down in the midst of the stones of fire. So he was gold cherub that covers. He was one of the cherubs that were covering on the Ark of the Covenant. And we talk about this in the video about the Olympics that happened this year or last year, and their closing ceremony had this really odd scene where this guy dropped down. He was completely decked out in gold, and the announcer even said he's descending to a desolate earth. This is prophetic. This is when Satan is bound to earth, a desolate earth for 1,000 years. If you don't know anything about that, read Jeremiah chapter 4, starting with verse 23. It talks about a desolate earth that is not going to be made a full end. The earth was made desolate by the Lord's fierce anger, but he will not make a full end of it. And this is where Satan will be bound for 1,000 years. But look, he was the covering cherub before he fell. So he was the golden angel of light that was holding that torch. What else do we have here? We have an eagle. I know when you think of eagle, you think of America, but that's because we were born in this culture. You got to go back to the origins of this stuff. This stuff dates back to Rome. The symbolism of the eagle in Rome dates back to its founding myths and its appropriation of the symbols, association with power, strength, and divine authority. Notice this doesn't just say with militant strength. It says divine authority. So we know that this eagle represents Rome and divinity. Check it out. What else? What is this interesting circle that's on the archway? That is the laurel wreath. We talk about this stuff a lot. Go back into our lives. That's where most of our videos are. They're under our live section. And watch our videos on Trump. Watch all the videos we did on Donald Trump, because we go so deep. Minnow, a friend of ours named Minnow, he brings so much information and we cover so much of this stuff. The Roman origin of the laurel wreath is a direct adoption of a Greek tradition which the Romans admired and adapted to symbolize military victory and status. In Greece, the wreath was associated with Apollo. So this wreath that you see on here is not just some fancy decoration like, oh, that's pretty neat. No, this goes back to Apollo. This is Greek mythology. Go back and watch our video under live. Watch our video about Washington, D.C. Exposed, where we literally went to Washington, D.C. and we recorded with our very own cameras all the Greek and Roman gods that were everywhere. There's literally a giant statue of Zeus, a fountain out front, And when you go inside, they have all the gods' names on the ceilings in gold. Apollo, Zeus, all that. Washington, D.C. is full of Greek and Roman gods. And so this is saying that it goes back to Apollo and awarded to victors of athletic and poetic contests. The Romans, who often saw military victory as the highest form of achievement, used the wreath to honor victorious generals and later their emperors. Look at that. Okay, so Roman emperor, wreath, right? So what is Trump saying? What is Trump saying when he builds an arch? It's literally called Arch de Trump. And I've seen some articles that say it's the Arch of Triumph, which there's literally an Arch of Triumph in Paris right now, and it looks pretty similar. Why do you have this Roman emperor wreath? Keep that in mind. So this is nothing new. We have seen this stuff, all this satanic, pagan junk going on in D.C. for a long time now. I think this was from 2018. This is literally a replica of the Temple of Baal. I know this is CBN News and they're Christian and maybe they could be biased, but look into this. Look up the Arch of Baal and you will see it looks identical to this. It even has this gap. This gap right here is in the Arch of Baal, and they recreated it and brought it to Washington, D.C. So get it out of your mind that Washington, D.C. is just some Christian nation. This is a pagan nation at its core. Trump, this is on the Washington Post. It says, Trump eyes a triumphal arch to mark, I think this is interesting language, to mark America's 250th anniversary. It goes on and says, triumphal arches were widely used by Romans. So this isn't my biased conspiracy theory Christian belief system, right? This is the Washington Post. They're just giving you the news as it is. They're saying triumphal arches were widely used by the Romans to commemorate victories. Those Roman arches inspired more recent structures in Europe, most notably the Arch de Triomphe in Paris. All right? Now, it goes on and it's going to tell you where this arch is going to be placed. Memorial Circle, that's where it's going to be placed. Memorial Circle is underutilized considering that it serves as a gateway to Washington. Now, gateway, I think that's very interesting language as well. You look into it. I didn't actually put it in this. Look up the occult purposes, or the occult meanings behind arches. They are spiritual portals, gateways. Serves as a gateway to Washington, said Duncan Stroik, an architectural professor at the University of Notre Dame. It's a big traffic circle. It's fine, but it could have something in the middle of it that would be very noteworthy. And it should be beautiful. So where are they going to put this archway? In a big traffic circle, right? That's what it says. This is Paris. This is the Arc of the Triumph in Paris. Now look at this symbol. Do you see a sun? A blatant symbol of a sun. All roads lead to Rome, right? Literally, all these roads are leading to the Roman triumphant arc. So, and it's in the symbol of a sun. That's not a coincidence. Here it is, again, with a traffic circle. So this article we just read by Washington Post, it's not just some like, oh, we have an original idea, let's put it in a traffic circle. No, they're doing this on purpose. This is done over and over. Notice which direction the traffic is moving. I don't know which side of the road they drive on in France, but it obviously appears that no matter which direction you drive in a country, you go counterclockwise. Keep that in mind. Yes, sources indicate the proposed Arch de Trump monument would be built in a traffic circle, specifically the Memorial Circle in Virginia. This roundabout is located at the foot of the Arlington Memorial Bridge across from the Lincoln Memorial, and it's going to be in this traffic circle. Now, what is so significant about that traffic circle? Why is it significant that there will be people nonstop in this tourist place driving circles around the Arch of Trump that goes back to Rome? Because of something called circumambulation, is the act of moving around a sacred object or idol. Circumambulation of temples or deity images is an integral part of Hindu, Buddhist, devotional practices known in Sanskrit. It is also present in other religions, including Christianity. I don't ever remember anything like that in Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. Are you getting mental images in your mind right now? Especially with the word Islam. So people will be driving circles around this monument that is a Roman portal for the spirit world. Oh my God. Okay, we're going to keep going. So I was looking into it to see, well, what direction do traffic circles go? And I found it on this website called Federal Highway Administration, and I think this logo up here is pretty interesting. This is called a trellis. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like this 3-piece yin-yang thing that looks like a 666. It also has to do with death and renewal and rebirth and the same stuff that we've been seeing over and over with this Charlie Kirk stuff, the phoenix rising out of the ashes, the Ouroboros, all that stuff. But this is just the company that builds traffic circles. But I think everything about our architecture, everything about the way our land is laid out, it's not just pulled out of a hat, guys. Like, there is meaning behind all this stuff. People need to wake up and see what's going on. Please give this video a thumbs up. Thank you, guys. Okay, so I already highlighted what's important here. It's a counterclockwise flow. That's which direction the traffic goes. Counterclockwise circumambulation. In some other traditions, the counterclockwise direction is ritually significant. So Islam and Judaism, they do this thing where they have a counterclockwise circumambulation around the synagogue, around Mecca. This is spiritual. This is ritualistic. Right here, you see it happening. The traffic circle going the same direction as these people walking around Mecca. So now, picture in the middle of that traffic circle a big Ark of Ark of Constantine. Ark of Trump. Get it, guys? Like, this is not just some coincidence. This is not just like, oh, Trump really likes this type of architecture. This is all strategically planned. This is all satanic at its core. And it's super prophetic. The significance of the Arch of Constantine, which Constantine's very significant in prophecy because he was one of the first ones that really made a church and state that was supposedly Christian, but was really a mingling of paganism and Christianity together, a coexist movement. He wanted to unite Christians and pagans together, and he made it law. Why is that significant? Because in the last days, there's going to be a one world religion that's enforced by law, by death decree. And we're going to get into that. The significance of the Arch of Constantine was to serve as a powerful political propaganda commemorating Emperor Constantine's victory over Maxentius at the Battle of Milvian Bridge, and linking him to the glory of the past emperors like Trajan, Hadrian, and Marcus. Okay, anyway, the point is, look at this right down here where I have it underlined. It says that these monuments are to present Constantine as a legit. Okay, so the monument is to present Constantine in a certain way. So this monument will be to present Trump in a certain way. And what's it say? As a legitimate heir to their success and to promote his authority and legitimacy, especially after Civil War. Think about what we talked about in those Charlie Kirk videos. There's 3 Charlie Kirk videos. Go back and watch those things. If you have not seen the light of what's going on, there's a lot going on behind the scenes with that stuff. It is a political push towards a one world religion. It's all about, you guys got to check it out. But they are talking about civil war. They're saying, you don't realize the dragon you've awakened, the fire that you've just caused. And it's all about inciting a civil war, because these elitists, they bring order out of chaos. So they create and manufacture the chaos so they can come in and bring the peace, right? And I just think it's interesting that Constantine, this Ark of Constantine, was erected after a civil war. Its construction also reflected the changing political and religious landscape. Wait a minute. It also reflected the changing political. Is our politics changing? Well, if you go back to some of our Trump videos, you'll see that Trump's saying he's the last president, that you're not going to have to vote anymore because he's king. And there are banners of him looking like a Roman Caesar and all this stuff. And are we seeing a change in our religious landscape? I think we are. By incorporating new reliefs that, along with existing ones, were used to shape the narrative of a triumphant ruler, a bringer of peace, and a patron of Rome. Has Trump been, is he being uplifted as some bringer of peace? Oh, yes. In his speeches, he's talking about, we're going to bring peace and safety. And that's exactly what the Bible says that the Antichrist is going to say. I'm not saying Trump is the Antichrist. Because I don't even believe there's a one-man Antichrist. I do believe that Satan is going to appear as Christ. But I believe that Trump is being set up as a decoy Antichrist so that a supernatural being can appear on the scenes as an angel of light, destroy the Antichrist, and then all believers will believe that Satan is the true Christ because he defeated the Antichrist. Anyway, a bringer of peace and safety. That's what the Bible says. When they say peace and safety, sudden destruction will come upon them. Why is that happening? Because there's going to be a one world religion that's based on coexist. We can all worship together. We all worship the same God. We just have different languages to God and different paths to God. But we can all agree that we believe in God, right? That's the coexist religion that will soon be to come. And it will look so close to Christianity that millions will fall for it. Just like all the other cults out there, like the Catholicism and Mormonism and all these other cults that look like Christianity, but they are not. Has Trump ever been compared to Constantine?
Through your leadership, you embody the values of our Christian faith and love for the gospel. You remind me of the great Roman emperor, Constantine the Great.
You remind me of the great Roman Emperor Constantine. And what did Trump say? He said that he is going to promise a golden age. These articles have been coming out since January. We've been talking about this on our channel for months now, for an entire year. We've been talking about all these connections. Listen.
The golden age of America begins right now. From this day forward, our country will flourish and be respected again all over the world. We will be the envy of every nation, and we will not allow ourselves to be taken advantage of any longer. During every single day of the Trump administration, I will very simply put America first.
So he's talking about bringing America back to the golden age. Why is that important? Because this goes all the way back to Rome and all the way back to these pagan countries. The golden age is the age of Aquarius. Esoteric writers like Alice Bailey and Helena Blavatsky, they were talking about the year 2025 would be when the externalization of the hierarchy would be when the spirit world would enter into our physical world, and we would enter into a new paradigm shift of a plane of existence where spirituality and where spirits and the physical dwell together in the golden age. So here we are in the golden age. Imperial propaganda, the concept of a new golden era, was also a long-standing theme in imperial Roman propaganda. So this goes back to Rome, right? Constantine's imagery and messages drew on these traditions while adapting them for a Christian context. So Constantine tried to twist this pagan belief into a Christian context. Connection to the what? The sun god, because it all goes back to the sun, which is Satan, the S-U-N. Satan's number one disguise is the sun god, whether it's Ra, the all-seeing eye, or whether it's Baal, or any of these things are all just different representations for different cultures and different time periods of the sun god. Because Satan is going to bring the world into sun worship. There's going to be mandatory rest on Sunday. for climate change, for family, for religion. All these things are coming. This is something that's on the books. Blue laws in every state in America. Blue laws are on the books. All it is going to take is for somebody to say, let's make it happen. Some kind of catastrophe, calamity, chaos, for them to say, look, this country has gotten out of control. We need to get this country back to God. We're going to force everyone to go to a church that teaches morality. Look at this. Economic stability. Constantine's introduction of a new stable gold. Have we been talking about a new form of currency? Maybe digital IDs or something like that. Something that can be controlled. Because if you don't worship according to the beast's way, then you will have your ability to buy and sell cut off. Donald Trump, Newsweek says, Donald Trump vows to make America more religious than ever before. Look, guys, this is a country that was founded on freedom of religion. You can worship any way you want. So how is Donald Trump going to vow to make, that word is a forceful word, to make America more religious than ever before? This is very interesting stuff. Check this out.
And you know, they work right out of the White House. They've never done that. That's never been done before. No other president allowed that. I think, you know, they say separation. They say separation between church and state, they told me. I said, all right, let's forget about that for one time. We said, really? The separation? I don't know.
Separation of church and state? He's like, you know what? I don't know if that's bad or not. Why do we got separation of church and state? Let's forget about that for a moment. Donald Trump said that. Let's forget about church and state for a moment. Why?
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Because of this.
Charlie, who spent his life speaking with the critics of these traditions, ultimately became convinced that we needed not just a political realignment, but also a spiritual reawakening. We did. And we have to bring back religion to America, because without borders, law and order, and religion, you really don't have a country anymore. We want religion brought back to America. We want to bring God back into our beautiful USA like never before. We want God back.
Notice they're saying we want God back. God is a generic word. It could mean anything. It can mean any God, whoever your God is. Now, the fact that he is just saying what he's saying is just super creepy, because I have an understanding of prophecy and how the end times is going to push for a one world religion, and this whole crowd is just brainwashed, emotionally driven at this supposed memorial for Charlie Kirk that was nothing more than a political rally that had 90,000 people there 11 days after the death of Charlie Kirk. You tell me how that happens. How can you make an event like that happen with flares, like pyrotechnics, LED screens, graphics, merch, speakers, bands, everything? It doesn't happen, okay, guys? It takes months to make an event like that happen, and they did it. It happened 11 days after the death of Charlie Kirk. And what were they doing? They were saying, his wife was saying, go to church next Sunday and the Sunday after this. You've awakened the dragon, and I'm going to bring religion back to America. Now, this guy, I can't remember his name, Senator Barry, I think, he is on Trump's board, and listen to what he's saying. This is so crazy.
Something I really encourage. I don't see a big, it's harder to see a big federal role for this. I think this is more a question of state and local law, is reinvigorating, where possible, Sabbath rest laws. To be very specific, like it used to be, this was basically the norm through, as best, I've looked into this some, I'm working on some research on this, literally dating back to Constantine and his recognition of Christianity in the Roman Empire, that you've had a pretty consistent tradition in Western civilization of taking Sunday off from commerce. This, of course, this is a tradition that has roots not only in Christianity but in Judaism, right. And keeping the Sabbath holy, and having a time not only for, it's not merely from rest in the sense of abstinence from work, but it's rest for. It's rest for time with God, time worshiping God. It's rest for time with community, and even before, in between, is time with family. The lack, one of the things that I think has been so harmful to the world of work and how we think about work is the lack of kind of well-defined and shared times for rest. One of the best pieces on this from a secular-ish author named Judith Shulevitz put this in The Atlantic a few years ago, called "Why You Never See Your Friends Anymore." And she opens with talking about the Soviet experiment in abolishing the 7-day week, replacing it with a 5-day week where just 1/5 of all the people are randomly assigned, like, you will have this day off, you will have this day off. It was a debacle. And within a few years, even the Soviets had to admit this was a very bad idea. Like, these are like, these are the masters of even the Gulag people thought that this was a bad idea. Like, we can't keep doing this. So having more of that steadier rhythm of work and rest would be so much healthier, so much happier, and help people more readily connect with the purpose of their work. Being able to push back from your work allows you to more readily see it as service to God, service to family, service to community, than the weird kind of soup of half rest, half work that we all seem to be floating in all the time.
So you hear what he's saying, right? He said Sabbath rest. Sabbath in the Bible is the 7th day of the week, which is Saturday, but he's not talking about that. He's saying we need a day of all this stuff with family and God and all this stuff, but what day will they pick? What day will it be? Because what day is the government shut down on? What day does your mail not run? What day is it that you can't go to the DMV? What day is it on certain states you can't buy alcohol, you can't buy a car? They are called Sunday laws, blue laws. Look it up. Blue laws. They're already on the books for every state in America. And they're choosing this time of great calamity that they have manufactured. They have manufactured the chaos so that they can bring in the peace, and they're making it sound so good. That's why it's deception, because it sounds so close to the truth that you will go for it. And you're going to say, this sounds great. This country needs to get back to God. I actually saw a post on Facebook that was like the good old days or something. And it showed, remember when everything was closed on Sunday? And 100% of the comments were saying, this was so great. It was such a great time. I wish we'd get back to this. So this is going to be accepted by all people, including atheists, because who doesn't like a day off? These are people who believe in climate change and all that stuff, and they think, oh, it's great for the environment. It's a green Sabbath, all this stuff. There's greensabbath.org. Check that out. In 321 AD, Emperor Constantine issued a law that made Sunday a day of rest in the Roman Empire, but it wasn't a universal religious enforcement. The law stated that judges, city dwellers, and all tradesmen should rest on the what? The venerable day of the sun. Now, when you look back at this law, they said that all shops must be closed on the venerable day of the sun. If you are caught Judaizing, is what it said. If you were caught Judaizing, you would be punished. Judaizing included keeping the 7th-day Sabbath, which is the 4th commandment of God. And what does Revelation say? That those who keep the commandments of God will have right to the tree of life and enter into the city. So Satan, the lawless one, wants to come in disguise as an angel of light to make laws of worship that look so close to the truth that if you don't understand Bible prophecy, that if you're not reading your Bible, then you will compromise and go along with it because it looks good. It looks like peace and safety and coexist and all that stuff. That is compromising on what God commanded. Because Constantine said, keep the day of the sun, and if you keep God's holy day, you will be persecuted. If you guys have not checked out Washington D.C. Exposed, go to our live section, watch it, because it will show you beyond a shadow of a doubt this is not a Christian nation, never has been. Everything that goes on in Washington is all pagan. Check it out. If you haven't seen Who is the Rain Man, check that video out. These videos go back a ways, so click on our live tab, go back and watch this one because it talks about the Ark of Baal. The Rain Man is Baal. Baal worship is prevalent in our culture today. Check out our channel. We got a lot of videos. Most of them are under the live section, as you see right here. This stuff is so deep. There's way too much to cover in this one live right here. If you guys would like to support this ministry, please go to CandidTruthOrg. We are completely 100% donor-based, except for what we make when we travel to speak at churches. We will come to your church. Please invite us. We've been to churches completely free. We've paid out of pocket to do it. But if your church wants to hear us come and give some presentations, you can go to CandidTruth.org and click on our booking tab. If your church can't afford it or whatever, just email us directly. We can work something out. You can support us through Cashapp, Venmo, Zelle, PayPal. We even have Patreon. If you guys like t-shirts and hoodies and mugs and pillows and all that, we have all that on our store on CandidTruth.org. I love you guys. We cannot do this without you. We need your support. Please like this video, click subscribe, share it with all your family and friends so they will not be deceived in these last days. We'll see you next time on Candid Truth.